All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is November 12th. We got a jam-packed NBA slate on this Sunday. Like we always do when we go through each and every one of these games, I'm going to give you my lean on the spread, give you my lean on the total, but all my final plays, if you do want to fade me, and boy, oh boy, has fading me been a profitable business in the last couple weeks here. But if you do want to fade me and check out those final plays, all those final plays, what I'm actually rolling with myself, those will be in the pinned comment. Last night, we got another graphic to show. For the third time this NBA season, and the NBA season just kicked off, right? I don't know, what would you say, 15, 30 days ago at most? Yeah, our third reverse sweep. So at least we're pulling sweeps out here. But we're not doing the sweeping. We've been swept more than we have swept, which is just tough. But we're still showing up. We're jumping on board, jumping on the mic, and showing up, even though it's tough to own these losses here. But nonetheless, on the good side of things here, Franz Wagner cashes the ride of the day for Nick here, over 4.5 rebounds. He's hitting 6 of his last 8. Well, he just made it 7 of his last 9. I believe he had 6 rebounds last night. So shout out to Nick. If you guys do want to be the ride of the day, all you got to use is hashtag ride of the day in the comments. That hashtag, I'll be jumping on board with one person's pick. Then you guys get a shout out in the next video, win or loss. But let's go ahead and jump into game number 1 of this slate. We have the Knicks taking on the Hornets. Knicks are 10-point favorites. I know it says 9.5 on the graphic, but on most books this is 10 or 10.5. So this line has moved just a little bit here. And I don't know if I necessarily agree with how big that spread is. If we do line read and look into it, then maybe Vegas knows what they're doing, because why would they lay that many points if they weren't comfortable with it and it moved from 9.5 to now 10.5? But I don't necessarily think that the Knicks are in a spot which we should comfortably lay 10 points, right? So I'm not saying that I love Charlotte plus the 10.5. I just don't think that I'm comfortable to lean or to lay 10.5 points as the Knicks here. So no terrors here. Gordon Hayward is probable here. So we'll see who ends up playing for them. No injuries for the Knicks side of things. But yeah, I think I'm going to lean towards Charlotte plus the 10.5 points just because that is such a big number. I don't know if that makes its way into the final plays, but again, it just seems like it's a little bit too high to comfortably lay as the Knicks. In terms of the total, I do think this one hits the over. The Knicks obviously have been playing good defense this season, but Charlotte really doesn't play any. So even if Vegas is right and this spread turns into the Knicks blowing them out, I do still think Charlotte's probably going to give you like 110 to 115. They're scoring the 8th most points in the league this season, right? So they're probably going to give you less than their average, which is 117. So if they give you 110, I think that 225 should be fairly easy to hit. I've seen it on 224 on some sportsbooks as well. So give me the over and then a slight lean towards Charlotte, but the over is the most likely final play in this entire game. Next up, we have the Brooklyn Nets here taking on the Washington Wizards. Brooklyn, heavy favorites, and this one, or at least heavy in my opinion, minus 7.5, but it makes sense. This Washington team ain't all that great. They're playing on the road. They're just 1-4 on the road this season as well. But it's not like Brooklyn's a great home team either. They're 1-3, but I do think Brooklyn is the better team now. They're without Ben Simmons and without Cam Thomas. They do seem to be getting Nick Claxton back here. He's been out for a while, but he is now probable in this game, which should help their defense a little bit here. 234 we'll start with. That's the total, right? That's a big number. It makes sense. So Washington, one of the worst defenses in the entire league, and they're actually playing at a high pace and making some buckets. They're 5th, which is kind of shocking. 5th in field goal percentage on the offensive end. That being said, Nick Claxton in there, I think that should make it a little tough. I think this game slows down. I'm going to take a peek at the under 234.5. In terms of a spread, I'll lean towards Brooklyn. If we can get this line in the minus 6 or minus 6.5 range, I like that a lot more than 7. We'll keep an eye on this line, but at 7.5, I probably don't make that a final play, but I think you're silly to lean towards Washington. This is a bad Washington team, obviously. I don't have any faith in them. I would never put my actual money on them, but 7.5 seems like it's a little bit too much. But if you get that 6.5, I think it's a way different ball game there. So I'll lean towards Brooklyn as well as the under. All right, Clippers taking on Memphis. I think we can go through this one pretty quick. Memphis, one of the worst teams in the league. You can make the argument for why they're the worst. Obviously, they've had some guys that are out. Ja Morant, I think he comes back near Christmas, right, from suspension. Williams, questionable here. Tillman, questionable. Derrick Rose, out. Steven Adams, obviously gone for season. Clark, I think he's out for a long, long time as well, right? Maybe even season. This is an obvious Clippers spot here. The only thing is it too obvious? Like, are we looking at this game being like, yeah, the Clippers are way better than Memphis, and somehow Memphis just pulls this one out? But nonetheless, I do think, this is compared to the Knicks and Charlotte game. I think the Clippers have proved in some, or I should say the opposite. Memphis has proved to some degree they're an absolute fadeable team, right? Like, what can you really look at this team and say that there's anything promising about? The problem here is that the Clippers have all the talent in the world. They're still a 3-5 ball club, right? Against the spread, they're also 3-5. So 9 points seems like it's a lot to lay, but I'll take them at the house here, taking on Memphis. Again, it's more of a fade Memphis spot than a back the Clippers, but this is a Clippers team that, as weird as it sounds, even though the records wouldn't necessarily dictate that, I'm more comfortable laying this line against Memphis, especially at home. They're 3-0 at home. So yes, it might be crazy, might be a lot of points, but I do think the Clippers get the job done here today. In terms of the total, 225. It's a pretty sharp line. I would put this one right around that 225 mark, so I don't have much of a lean when it comes to the total here. I guess if I had a gun to my head, I'd say slight over. I could see this one landing right around 230. But again, that's not that much margin. Not the most confident lean in the world either. Next up, we got the Sixers taking on the Pacers here. Sixers sitting at 6.5 point favorites. It's 6.5 across all sportsbooks right now. Total, though, has changed from the graphics. I have 238.5 there, but most sportsbooks now at 238. We'll start with the spread. This is a Pacers team that obviously has been playing like a run and gun team, but the Sixers are the opposite of fadeable right now. Like, if you're betting against the Sixers, you're a psycho. 7-1 against the spread this year. They're 5-0 at home. I do like them in this spot. They've won 8 of their last 10 games against this Indiana club. In terms of injuries, Kelly Oubre Jr., he's out. Patrick Beverley is questionable. Neesmith and Smith are both questionable for Indiana. Nothing major enough to keep me, scared of this spot. I think the Sixers -6.5 is the play. Total sitting at 238. Like I said, this is a Pacers team that's been running teams out the gym. The Sixers also have been, I guess, to some degree, able to keep up with some of these fast teams. We've seen some of their wins actually be fairly impressive. They dropped 140 plus against Washington. They kept up with Portland, who actually started to look like they put some decent amount of points up in that game, and the Sixers says, nope, we squashed you, and they scored 126, right? So this is a Sixers team that it kind of puts the gas on, turns the gas on when they need to. So if Indiana's gonna try and push the tempo, which I know that they can do, even though it's a high total, this Pacers team 8-1 to the over this year. I think that I like the over, even though it's such a high line. A lot of people are gonna look at the Sixers team and think that, okay, well, they're gonna slow it down and whatnot. It seems like that's the Sixers of old. Like, the Sixers that are playing well right now are the team is the team that's taking pretty much a game like this. Pacers are trying to push the tempo, and the Sixers say, anything you can do, I can do better. Instead of saying, oh, we're going to halt what we're doing and try and slow you down. No, they're just beating you the way that you like to play. So I'll take the over here, 238. All right, what do we think here? Is this a trap? Houston just getting 4 points at home against the best team in the league, Denver, 8-1 on the year, right? And this is just a weird spot because it's kind of like the Warriors and Cavs game yesterday, in which I like the Warriors. That spread was low, and I was like, the Warriors are going to clean up, right? And they lose. So I know Houston's at home. I get that they've been playing really well. I gave them their flowers in either yesterday's video or the day before, right? About how they have been a really good team. Kind of surprising, but they're not Denver good. They just cannot be Denver good. So I'm going to lean towards Denver in this one. Strong chance that this is a final play. Houston's been good. I don't want to take away from it. Even if Houston were to win this game, I'd be head scratching, but not like floored and shocked, right? But I still think that this is a spot in which we can trust the better team, which is the Denver Nuggets here. In terms of the total, 217.5. Like, again, maybe I'm just overthinking this or underthinking, I guess, right? But that seems super low to me as well. Like, this is a line in which Denver's hit plenty as of late. Houston, we know, has hit plenty as of late. They've scored 120 plus in 2 of their last 3 games. So 217.5, I get it. This is a spot in which you do have, not the most fast offense in Denver going up against what's been proven, at least so far this year, a pretty damn good defense in Houston, going up against a mediocre offense in Houston and a good defense in Denver, right? So it kind of makes sense why this line's there. But to me, it still just seems super low. Like, I wouldn't tilt my nose at the over here if it was at 220, maybe 220.5. So give me the over 217.5. All right, guys, before we continue on with this slate, let me talk to you about Outlier. If you have not checked out Outlier yet, you need to do so. You get 7 days free in the pinned comment. Just use that link, and you get access to the best sports betting research tool out there. Green means good, red means bad. If you can understand that, you can profit with Outlier. Go ahead and check it out, guys. Again, that link is in the pinned comment. Next game we're looking at here is going to be the Spurs. They're taking on Miami. Miami 5-4 now on the season. They're starting to turn it around after 4 straight wins, but I'm not putting much weight into the wins that they have. Washington, LA, Memphis, Atlanta. Maybe 1.5, 2 of those games you could say is sort of a quality spot and a quality win. San Antonio, on the other hand, really not playing the best of basketball. I don't think that anyone's been impressed by them. They're 3-6 on the year, 4-5 against the spread. They're 1-3 at home here. I like Miami in the spot. Yes, they're on the back-to-back. I know people are going to put weight into that, and I think it's a little bit too early to start doing that type of thing. The only thing we need to monitor, like this is a definite no-go if Jimmy Butler does not play. Didn't play in the last game, now questionable in this, but in fact, that kind of helps the whole back-to-back narrative, right? Like, if your best player didn't play, he isn't on a back-to-back. Is your team really on a back-to-back? So we'll monitor that, guys. If Jimmy Butler is a go, I like this spot. If he's not, we probably stick away from this game. Total sitting at 225 here. I guess it's a sharp line. It's pretty smart. I could see this one being like a Miami 115 to 110 game, so we'll stick away from the total, but I'll go under just ever so slightly. But again, I think that this is a pretty good line. I don't think there's any true edge in that 225.5. All right, Pelicans hosting the Mavs here. Another interesting line where it's like, am I missing something? Am I overthinking it? Dallas sitting at just 2.5-point favorites here. They are on the road, but obviously you have no CJ McCollum on the Pelicans, and they just haven't been playing good basketball too. Their last 4 games they have lost, and they haven't been like the Houston they kept close, right? But it was Atlanta, Denver, Minnesota, so 2 of those 3 are really good teams. And then even Houston's a decent team, but they've been kind of getting worked. And yes, no McCollum is a huge deal, so I'll lean towards Dallas right here. That's a huge chance of being a final play. 7-2 right now, and I also do 7-2 record for them. Like, this is a good team as long as Kyrie keeps his mouth shut. Luka plays like he should play, and that team does what they're supposed to do. Like, this is a legit Dallas team now. Do the wheels fall off at some point? I feel like they always do with Kyrie Irving teams, but nonetheless, for now, this is a Dallas team that not many teams have made us money this season, right? Because we have not made money this season, but Dallas has been printing checks for us. In terms of the total, 233.5, I think you got to take a peek at the over just because this Dallas team does play so fast and does score so many points. So I like the over 233. It's a high number, but I could see that happening. Dallas attempting more threes than anyone in the league right now and making more threes than anyone, and first in percentage. So it's not even like a true quantity thing. Like they're really playing good basketball from outside the arc, and then obviously they're going to go and give you buckets down low as well. Second in points scored here, and what I like is they are the second best team in third quarter scoring and the second best team in fourth quarter scoring this year. And you know where the New Orleans actually truly struggles is they're the seventh. They're allowing the 7th most points in the third quarter and the 5th most points in the fourth quarter. So if this is looking like an under all game long, I trust that the third and fourth quarter could literally spike this thing. So I'll take a peek at this. I also like this opportunity for a same game parlay. If we can get like Mavericks team total at like 110 and throw in a couple player props for some plus money, we might do that. Keep an eye on that pinned comment. All right, Chicago taking on Detroit. And first off, you probably wouldn't catch me dead betting this game, okay? Second, I'm definitely not laying that many points as a Chicago side of things. So I guess by default, I will take Detroit plus the points here. But by no means is it something I want to look at. Duren's questionable, right? A couple other injuries to note there as well. But this is just this is a bad game, guys. I don't think we're going to end up betting on this one. Total sitting at 219.5. Like, this isn't even a spot where you're like, oh, these teams are so bad defensively. No, it's not even that. Like, you have seen good defense out of at least these 2 teams at some point. So even 219.5 is kind of like a sketchy number to me. So I apologize, but we are just kind of skipping over this game. Maybe Detroit plus 7.5 because I'm not laying 7.5 with Chicago, but this is not a game that we really care all that much about today. All right, Phoenix hosting the Thunder here. 2.5-point favorites is Phoenix as of right now. The total sitting at 235. I like the Phoenix side of things. You have Bradley Beal, who's probable. Devin Booker's even questionable. Who knows if he ends up playing, but I think this is a good spot for Phoenix at home to take care of the Thunder. They haven't necessarily got the ball rolling yet, it seems like all year long, but I do trust that, 2.5 points isn't all that much. A lot of people are in the Thunder, and it makes sense. This is the rumbling covering Thunder, right? We loved them last year and all that, but I think they're starting to tilt more towards a heavily betted team than they were sort of the prized underdog that we loved about last year. And Phoenix, on the other hand, really hasn't been a team that you could trust whatsoever. They're beating bad teams, losing to like mediocre teams. Again, 4-5 on the year. They're not playing all that well. But this is, I believe, the second game of a 2-game road stretch for Oklahoma, and they go back home tomorrow, 2 days from now, to play San Antonio. So it could be kind of a look-ahead spot. Let's just get through these road games and then head back. So I like Phoenix here in the middle of their road stand. They should be comfortable, should be ready to go. I like them minus the points. Total sitting at 235. I also like the under. I think if Phoenix wins this game, we're looking at a potential under here because they have to lock up. If OKC gets out to the races, I think that tempo gets pushed, and we see this as a potential over. But again, if I think Phoenix is in control, I do think that this ends up being an under game. All right, this is a tough one. Golden State taking on Minnesota. It is tough, but I don't think, I said in a couple videos, right? I don't think I'm ready to fade Minnesota's defense. Like, this is a legit defense. You do have Golden State on a back-to-back, a loss. They are at home. That's great, but to me, this could be a Minnesota spot. I like the under probably more than anything in this game, but yeah, I'm not ready to fade the defense. This is a legit Minnesota defense. In many metrics you look at, you can actually make the argument that this is the best defense in the league, certainly from a points per game allowed perspective. So again, I think that the Warriors, like if you're on the Warriors here -1.5, I don't hate that. Like I wouldn't tell you to not do it. I just don't think that Minnesota's a fadeable team right now at all. Like I think it's almost like I think that I would be messing up if I was like, oh, Warriors definitely because they're the Warriors. It's like, no, this is a legit Minnesota defense. Obviously they have scorers too. Like don't sleep on this team, and not that anyone is. Like they're kind of being talked about now, but don't sleep on how good this defense is. Everyone will talk about obviously the stars on the team and whatnot, but this is like by many metrics the best defense in the league right now. So I'll back that. And like I said, my favorite play is the under in this spot as well. All right, Lakers taking on Portland. Another game that I'm kind of like, what's going on here? 9.5 points, the Lakers are favored, and I don't think that they're that good, but I don't want to bet Portland, right? So I think we look at the over in this spot overall. I could see the Lakers coming out there and winning like 115 to 110 or something like that, which obviously is a decent separation from the line that we're talking about here. But this is the team on Portland that's scoring the fewest amount of points in the entire league. This defense for the Lakers ain't all that great, so hopefully that at least allows us to get to like mediocre basketball, which should be able to cover, get to a 220 type of final, because it's also a pretty bad, I guess you could say, Lakers offense, but not the best Portland defense. Now, you're going to say points per game, they look good, but in terms of field goal percentage against and all that, like, people are scoring on this Portland team. So, yeah, I think this one gets to at least 220, so I'll take the over, but I'm sure as hell not laying 9.5, 10.5 points with the Lakers here. But, guys, that is going to wrap it up for today's video. Hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. We got to turn this damn ship around, and we will. I'm confident in that, but we're sitting at 47.3% in the NBA this year. Yikes. We'll turn it around, though, guys. Thank you for sticking with me. And remember, you can always fade these picks. So it is what it is. But we'll catch you guys in the next one, right? Peace out.